This channel is all about dispelling myths about anxiety, the fact that you can overcome these symptoms, whether they're panic attacks, intrusive thoughts, the bizarre, mysterious physical symptoms that the doctors don't have an answer for, the depersonalization, derealization. But what that can also mean is that you might have some truths that can seem confronting. One of the biggest truths out there is that time doesn't actually heal anxiety. This might be very difficult to hear because you might have had your friends, your families, your doctors to even say, just be a little bit more patient. In fact, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you might have heard me allude to the fact that you just need to be a little bit more patient. But time itself does not heal. And when you're experiencing bizarre, mysterious physical symptoms like the palpitations, dizziness, the nausea, the vertigo, digestive issues, when you're getting intense panic attacks all the time that just drains your body, when you're getting these scary intrusive thoughts about you being like this forever or feeling incredibly numb and disconnected because of depersonalization, derealization, being told that, hey, you just need to give it more time isn't very reassuring. In fact, these symptoms are so uncomfortable that you're almost more impatient and you want to focus on getting rid of these symptoms quickly. Well, in this video, I want to give you some context on this idea that time in itself does not heal. There's a few things that need to be in place before you give it time. And what I find is that a lot of people kind of put the cart in front of the horse. They tend to focus on things that should happen a little bit later in the beginning and vice versa. So I want to dispel this myth and give you some context of what this exactly means. So let's get it started. Now, when I was struggling with anxiety, it started off as a panic attack. I didn't know what was going on. I kept going to doctors. They said everything was fine. They really just said, your blood pressure is high, your heart rate's up, but you're stable. And one of my biggest symptoms were the digestive issues. And I would notice my anxiety would be the most intense in the morning. In fact, in the evening, I might have moments where I was feeling normal. I was feeling fine. I thought, hey, maybe this is gone. And then the next morning, because of the cortisol spike, I just felt like I got hit by a train. And I would be going to the doctors. And I was experiencing this for a couple of weeks, which was very astonishing for me because I'd never really been sick for multiple weeks, maybe a few days here and there, but I could see myself progressing. But I was feeling like nothing was changing. And it made me think that the doctors are missing something, and I just kept going from one doctor to another to another. Eventually, I moved back home, and I started exhausting everything. I started going to doctors. They couldn't find anything. I went to therapists, and they were focused on childhood trauma. And my biggest focus was, okay, I don't really think anything bad happened, but why am I feeling like this right now? Like, what can I do right now to get better? And the therapist just didn't really have an answer for why I was experiencing these symptoms. Then I started using alternative remedies. I started going to functional doctors. I went to chiropractors. I went to naturopaths. I was taking so many supplements. And then at that point, when I exhausted everything, I started taking medication. That didn't help. Then I started going into more alternative therapies, traditional Chinese medicine. I started researching things. I was basically on Google this whole time. And as time was going on, I was noticing that not only was I not getting better, but if I had to be honest with myself, I was getting worse. I would even have friends and family say, no, you're getting better. And they would be like, oh, you did this really well. You did that very well. But deep down, I felt like I was just getting worse. And it was very difficult and very confronting with the fact that I had to acknowledge the fact that I just wasn't getting better. And so in this case, time wasn't helping me. In fact, the longer I was going through this, the more tired I was feeling. I was noticing that my body wasn't giving any more panic attacks simply because my body was too tired to give me panic attacks. But it wasn't until I started understanding what was truly going on, when I truly believed it was anxiety, once I started putting the steps in place, that things started turning around. Basically, I was going downward, and what ended up happening was I hit this inflection point where I started making progress. Now, as I was progressing, as I was getting out of the cycle, I noticed that the cycle was deeper than I thought. I thought, okay, I know what I'm doing. And I thought maybe I can get out of this, pretty quickly. And I realized that the recovery journey was a lot deeper than I thought. And as I was progressing, as I was getting better, I was naturally becoming impatient. I would still look at the old Shaan that could travel, that could do all these things. And I said, I still can't do that yet. Yes, I'm making progress, but how long before I can travel by myself? How long before I can move out of my parents' house? How long before I can get a real job where, I'm making good money? And at this point, when I was going through the recovery journey, I had to remind myself what my friends, what my family members, what my doctors were telling me, which is, hey, You need to give it more time. And sometimes I wouldn't believe it. Sometimes I would think maybe I can cut corners, maybe I can expedite my recovery journey, maybe I can apply the principles of recovery and I can add something else in there. And then what would happen was I would notice is that I would spiral a bit. Then I had to go back to the basics. And so what happens is that time does heal, but you need to have the foundation in place. Time in itself healing is not going to be enough. If you're being honest with yourself, truly ask yourself, have you really gotten this problem resolved as more time has gone on? Chances are you're probably doing exactly the same, or you might even be getting worse like I was. So this idea that time alone heals is not true. You have to be putting in the work. As you're putting in the work and you're focused on the solution, then the key is about giving it more time. Now you need to develop the act of patience, of letting it be, as going and living your life, not making anxiety a big deal. But what happens is when people don't have the foundations of recovery, giving it time doesn't really do anything. Now, in this video, I'm not going to be breaking down the mechanics of recovery, the solution. If you're new to the channel and you're wondering, what is Shaan even talking about? What is the solution? I'll put a link down below to a desensitization blueprint. It really breaks down why you're experiencing symptoms, how to come out of it, and it really gives you the foundation to how to begin recovery. There's also a bunch of resources on this YouTube channel, success stories, playlists. There's a bunch of things I'll put in the description box below. Basically, if you're focused on the solution, I'd focus on a few core principles. Number one, do you understand why you're experiencing symptoms? It's very important. Learning the fight or flight response, learning nervous system sensitization. Again, that blueprint will really help. Understanding how anxiety creates these bizarre symptoms. Then it's about learning how to respond to these symptoms. Then it's about learning how to deal with setbacks. Then it's about learning how to get your core confidence. It's also a big internal shift of recognizing that external things in life you don't really need. If you want to use supplements, if you want to focus on other things, that's totally fine, but recovery truly does come from within. And the truth is that you're not broken. But back to the truth of time doesn't heal. When I was enrolling members into the mentorship, this was years ago, this was as I was building my team, I remember I would be talking to people and I would say, okay, you're struggling with palpitations, brain fog, and dizziness, and you're getting intrusive thoughts about this, and you're feeling a little bit disconnected. What are you doing to get this problem fixed? And what would often happen is that I would find answers of things like lifestyle adjustments. They would say, I would go for walks, I would listen to podcasts, I'd watch your videos, I'd be doing these things. And I said, okay, this is fine, but this isn't focused on the recovery steps. So you're just focused on lifestyle things. So has things changed? And they had to be honest with themselves and they would say, it doesn't change. Yes, it makes me feel better, hearing your videos, understanding that this is all anxiety and, giving me that comfort that I'm not broken, but I'm just focused on lifestyle adjustments. I'm not really focused on, getting better. And then sometimes they would join the program, sometimes they wouldn't, and they would give it more time. And what would often happen during that time is that what I actually found is when people joined a little bit later, it was a little bit harder to get them out of the cycle. And that was because the more time went on, the more they internalized that they were broken. They started thinking, oh, I haven't been dealing with this for 6 months. I've been dealing with this for a year. I've been dealing with this for a year and a half. They start internalizing that they're going through this and that they can't come out. Now, the purpose of me telling you this is that people just thought that if they just dealt with lifestyle adjustments and if they just let it be and didn't really focus on the recovery steps, that time was going to resolve it. But that's not how it works. You have to be putting the work. A great analogy that I like to give is recovery is a lot like working out, right? Now, if I was just to not work out, not to do anything and say, well, if I just give it more time, I'll get in shape, it's not going to work that way. In fact, your muscles are going to begin to atrophy. You're going to notice that you're going to get less in shape. But as you start going consistently, as you start approaching the principles of weightlifting, of working out, of cardio, as you start focusing on moving your body, then the solution is give it more time. Ask anybody that's in shape and say, give me that one trick to get better. They're going to say, I went to the gym. When I didn't feel like going, I went to the gym. When I felt like going, I ate clean and I was consistent. The same time occurred with both individuals, but one person progressed and the other person probably stayed baseline at best, or maybe even went down and maybe lost some muscle mass or maybe put on some extra weight. Recovery is the exact same way. If you're not focused on the principles, things don't change. So it's not that time alone heals. It's time plus processing what's happening, learning how to respond, regaining your life, and taking active ownership of what's going on. As you're doing those things, then it's about cultivating patience. Then it's about giving time. That's when time is now on your side. You might feel like as you're going through this recovery journey, time is against you. The longer you're going through this, the more terrible you feel, the more you've internalized that this is going to be your life forever. But once you start focusing on the recovery journey, as you start getting better, you'll start noticing that you're getting better, and that it just keeps getting better, and that it just keeps getting better. And what you're gonna find is time is now on your side. Think of time as like this giant beast that instead of fighting with, that you'll never win with, now it's behind you, now it's protecting you. Now you're actually making progress, and it just keeps getting better. I hope this video helps. It's an important nuance to understand. If you really wanna know more about the recovery steps, I recommend checking out this video right here.